Welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett, joining us today once again from VidCon, where we recorded a handful of biscuits, are Michael Gregory, Evan Gregory, and Sarah Fullen Gregory, three of the four founding members of the musical quartet, the Gregory Brothers, a band that's best known for their YouTube series, Auto-Tune the News and Songify This.
And longtime friends of ours, which will become very clear as you begin the biscuit with us. Their YouTube channel, known as Schmo Yoho, accent on the yo, was created back in 2006 by Michael. And I dug up some interesting stuff on there by sorting by oldest first. That's a little trick I'll let you in on.
Well, it's quite a trick, Link, the old sort button.
Oh yeah, on YouTube. But it became the home for all things Gregory Brothers thanks to Auto-Tune and the presidential debate 6 years ago. Since its start, the channel has racked up 2.5 million subscribers and over 680 million views.
And a lot of those views are attributed to the success of their masterfully auto-tuned songifications, where they digitally manipulate the voices of politicians, news anchors, other characters from viral videos to create these insanely catchy songs accompanied by a hilarious video, often that employs a lot of green screen and sometimes a keytar. And they may not have invented the software for auto-tune.
I can say they did not. They definitely did not.
But
that was somebody else.
They can certainly be credited for making it the sensation it became back in 2009 and 2010. I'm sure you remember the Charlie Sheen winning song, almost 57 million views today, and with 36 million views, the internet classic Double Rainbow song.
That's a whole rainbow now. Ah, double rainbow on the way across the sky. So intense. Double rainbow on the way across the sky. Wow, wow, oh my God, look at that rainbow.
But their most popular video today is the Bedroom Intruder song, which currently has 128 million views, and I know that you remember this one.
He's climbing in your windows, he's snatching your people up, trying to rape them, so y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband, cause they're raping everybody out here. You don't have to come and confess, we're looking for you, we gon' find you, we gon' find you, so you can run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that, homeboy, homeboy.
Now guys, that was the most watched video on YouTube. So I guess that means the planet in 2010.
Yeah, that's big.
So of course the success of their auto-tuning and songification skills has led them to various other projects, a lot of which we talked about in this Ear Biscuit. We had a great time sitting down with three of the four Gregorys talking about the history of how they became magicians.
They're magicians?
It's hard for me to say musicians, especially when I'm fixated on magicians. How they became a band and a YouTube sensation. We talked about how Evan and Sarah met. We talked about how all of them met, which is by birth, many of them.
Most of them met by birth.
What led to the creation of Auto-Tune the News, and how their online success opened the doors for many other projects, like I said, like making an auto-tune segment for the Oscars, and creating the theme song for the TV show Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, so we enjoyed talking with the gentleman and the lady, and we think you'll enjoy this Ear Biscuit. But first, we want to take a moment to let you guys know about our Song Biscuits animated series. You remember Song Biscuits, where we collaborated with other YouTubers to create songs based on your suggestions.
We should have had the Gregory Brothers on that, but it didn't work out. That'll have to be for season 2.
Yeah, we'll bring it back at some point. But what we have done is we picked some of our favorite Song Biscuits from that series and partnered with some of our friends over at Frederator.
Yep.
To get some of their animators to bring these to life in animated form. So we're doing that on Saturdays on the Good Mythical Morning channel, so make sure you check those out.
But now, let's get on with the biscuit.
How often does that happen? Do you show up somewhere and it's like some news thing and they're like, can you sing our like call sign or whatever?
Oh yeah.
We've sung
literally
we've sung
every
like
time.
three call signs today, just today.
Yeah. Just
Serious.
Yeah, mostly for like
You're serious.
kids in our signing line who are like, my YouTube channel is called you know, Bobby McGee Productions.
And you grant this request. You're that nice.
Oh yeah. We love doing
of
that.
course.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah. What we don't grant is when someone is like, so have you auto-tuned your baby crying yet?
Why not?
Now you have to answer the question you just made fun of because I really want to know.
The answer is no, we haven't
You're
yet.
thinking about it, though.
Yet.
You're thinking about it.
Yeah.
So where's Andrew? He's missing.
Great question. Andrew is on his honeymoon. He's just been married.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, gosh.
Andrew got married this
Where's
last
he
weekend.
honeymooning?
Costa Rica.
Oh, the Costa Rica.
We went to the Rica coast.
I have been to the Costa Rica.
He's probably learning to surf or something. Boring.
Well, we're finally getting you guys on in your biscuit. I mean, it's we see each other. We've been friends for so long. It's just been a question of when are we all going to get together. And now Andrew's missing out. And that, you know what?
Yeah,
if he
it's
wants
his
to be
loss, man.
married and honeymoon instead of be
Whatever.
here,
I know.
then so be it.
He always has the
Andrew.
lamest excuses.
We'll be rubbing this in for a long time.
Let's talk about the first meeting. Let's reminisce on this thing.
Oh my gosh, great idea. Okay.
So Michael, you're gonna have to help me
this
figure
isn't
out
great.
how this works. And then there's the initial thing about what we did once we got there with the recording. You remember that? So I want to talk about that.
I will remember, but
Once we
yes.
get- once we get there.
Now I'm remembering a lot.
So I think I reached out. I don't know how. I sent an email that was like, you guys were auto-tuning the news and it was amazing. And somehow we started talking. Right?
Yeah,
on
yeah.
email.
Yeah, and I can't remember what email was up at the time, but I must have had the email up in the videos or something, and then we were emailing each
I
other.
tracked you down in the
Yellow
channel
pages.
section,
Yeah.
channel information email thing.
Right.
Because I was on this kick that's like, if I really like somebody, I'm gonna find them. And we were going to New York for 789, July 8th, 2009,
Right.
YouTube gathering. And so I was like, we're going to New York. That's where the Gregory Brothers are. So let's make this happen.
And you guys helped me out because I was new to the YouTube, so I didn't even know that existed. So otherwise, I would have missed the whole thing. I was like, oh, there's a 789.
Right.
I was.
But you had to agree to meet us first, which was like,
True.
we had never I had never cold called a YouTuber, cold emailed a YouTuber and been like, hey, I really like what you're doing. Let's meet.
On the corner of 156th.
Yeah, I remember feeling this sense of I was taking it like an emotional risk in sending the email.
I mean, I don't think we had been cold called ever before, really. So we were feeling the same thing. We had jitters, butterflies.
It was a
how
weird
it goes.
experience.
Yeah.
And when we had just gotten our first iPhones.
Whoa.
And
Yeah,
one of the features on the iPhone was the voice memo thing.
Revolutionary.
And I just remembered the first time we ever recorded a voice memo, I was like, it sounds so clear.
the audio's so good. We could be and then Rhett was like, he pitched this idea to me. He was like, we could be like NPR, just using the voice memo on my phone.
Because it sounds like NPR.
And we're like, well, we're going to New York. We're going to New York, and what we're going to do is instead of doing video, I mean, how stupid would that be to
We
do
actually
video?
thought it was a great idea.
We're gonna,
not
have-
vlog, but just to record
Have
audio.
audio vignettes, and we would take a picture and then have the audio on our website. And so
Yeah.
the first ever interview we did was
Download that.
we met, and then we went to your
Our
house.
place. Oh, it came up to our apartment. We had nachos or something.
We had
Uh-huh.
we had that what was that? We had that beer with the clam sauce in it. What's that?
Michelada. Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. Never had it
yeah.
since.
Well, you got a good
It's
memory,
like
man.
Tecate beer
Yeah.
with what?
We were
Tomato juice?
For some reason, when we made nachos, we were committing to a full Mexican theme on the dinner or something. So we
You got to get the clam beer.
yeah.
It's it can be different things, but I think the basic michelada is tomato juice and Worcestershire. Is that right?
I thought that was clamato.
Maybe we
Yeah,
put
it was
clamato in it.
clamato and chili pepper in your beer. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was totally wrong.
And
what I just
Tecate.
said. And Tecate.
And so we drank some of that at your round table there.
Yes.
I mean, you remember this?
Yes,
And
I do.
You're painting the
I
picture.
totally do.
Am I
I'm
making this
reliving
up?
it.
Am I
put
making
the-
this up, man?
It was really cute. I remember it being
We put the
really
phone-
cute. We sat around the little family table.
And we interviewed you just
And-
like this.
Yeah.
It was just like
Wait,
this.
I
but
don't
it
remember
was,
the interview at all.
but
I
it
just
was an
remember
iPhone.
the nachos.
It
and
was
you
just
guys.
an iPhone.
I
What did
think
we talk about?
I think there was a little bit of how do you auto tune, and there was a little bit of talking shop, and then there was
I recently found it.
Oh, for real?
Oh my gosh.
It's online. It's on a
No, but I recently found it like in my like voice memo playlist. Yeah, because it's like
6 years.
Because it never goes away. It just keeps passing along.
It just goes from phone to phone.
And it doesn't. It's not labeled. It just says like July 7th or July 8th, whatever day that it was.
Right. My memo 13.
Yeah. It's like, this is when we were in their kitchen talking to him.
And then afterward, we went
to watch Bruno,
That's right.
which just came out.
Oh,
it was probably opening weekend.
Wow,
Sacha Baron Cohen's follow-up
really
to
blocked that out.
What was the
Borat.
Borat was great. It was like groundbreaking. And then this was like his follow-up a few years later.
It was a total date. I remember.
Yeah.
We did. We made you guys dinner, and then we went to a
us
movie
to a
together.
movie.
It's a full date experience.
Yeah, it was a group date.
But there was a scene in the movie where it's like a full-on close-up of a penis.
Yeah.
Just dangling
And wagging. Yeah.
wagging, and it started speaking.
Yeah, it
Oh,
points
that's
at you
right.
and then starts speaking.
Yeah, and that's quite a first date.
It is.
You don't want to see that on a date, especially
Every
unexpected.
time I look at you guys, I see that penis talking.
Me too. That's like a date number 3 movie.
Yeah, right.
where you've already established an atmosphere of mutual respect and affection for penises.
Yeah.
Right, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah,
That's something you have to sort of work your way up to.
I mean, thanks to that choice, I Google, is there a talking penis in this before I see any movie now?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks to you
Well, it's
guys.
on Kids in Mind. There's the Talking Penis section, like
Right.
Common Sense Media will tell you that, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a plug?
That's a spoiler you're willing to find out about.
Yes.
About a movie.
Yes, I want.
Required to find out.
I
about
have to know when to close my
Because
eyes.
actually, not being spoiled is the spoiler. It would spoil the movie if you actually showed
Yes.
up and didn't know you were gonna get a penis to the face.
but we remain friends.
Yeah, right.
Despite
It
that
was beautiful.
somehow.
It was beautiful.
I
We
loved
have to
it.
recreate that evening.
You
at some
haven't
point.
made nachos in a while, actually. We're overdue for some
Great,
nachos.
done. Rhett Link.
Are you
coming
guys
over
still in
for
the same
nachos.
place?
not.
No, we were there for several years. We moved. We're still in Brooklyn. Just still in the same neighborhood. All of us live in Brooklyn.
Somehow we landed a 3-bedroom apartment in like one of the coolest neighborhoods in Brooklyn, and I think the landlord, it was just one of these situations where he like kind of forgot he owned this property. I
He
think.
got confused.
Yeah, and then eventually, like years after we'd been in there at the same price point forever, he like was like, "Oh, wait a minute,"
He remembered we lived there. Yeah.
and then raised the rent like crazy. And we're like, "Okay, bye." Yeah. Just just some New York real estate talk for you.
You New Yorkers love to talk about
We
real
do.
estate, like rent.
Yeah, well, we like to talk about traffic.
Yeah, we talk about traffic.
That's
you talk
true.
about rent, right?
That's true. And you know what? Like, is the LA traffic that much worse than New York traffic?
You're getting us to. You want us to talk about it?
No, let's not talk about
Let's
it.
not
I
talk
just
about it,
mean
but
you shouldn't
yes.
talk about it because
No,
New York
but
is just as bad.
But you don't have to get into the New York traffic if you don't want
That's
to.
a good point. That's a good
the
point.
thing.
You're
You
right,
can
you're right,
avoid
you're
it.
right, you're right,
You
you're
can't
right.
avoid it in LA, so you
true.
got to talk about it.
Yeah, you're right,
That
you're
and the
right.
weather, which is always the same, which is weird that we
Right.
talk about it.
Right. Oh, the weather's
Right.
still the same.
Yeah. So if I'm continuing to track our friendship before we get in anything anyone else will be interested in,
Right.
to me, the next defining point in our internet meets real life friendship is probably VidCon #1
Yeah.
because it was in Beverly Hills.
It was in LA at
And
the
then they-
Century City
Yep.
They had the attached
Mall.
like outdoor mall with the rock sugar,
Yes.
Oh,
where we
yeah.
had dinner.
Rock
Some sushi
sugar.
together.
We sure did.
And the at some point, either year 1 or year 2, because it became a semi-tradition, the wives were there.
oh yeah.
Well, you're a wife and you're there.
Yeah,
Sarah,
but I was
you're
so
also
happy to
part of
have
the
some
thing.
other wives in the party.
Yeah, so like,
Right.
we really took it to the other level.
Yep.
When
did.
like the wives showed up.
Yeah, we don't even bring them to VidCon anymore.
It's
Well,
still
they elect not to come.
Yeah.
I mean, it has nothing to do with what
Yeah, they're not
we
willing.
do
They're
or
not
don't
willing
do.
to come. Right.
Oh, do it. I got to.
Once we were all going out to eat at Rock Sugar after VidCon, it felt very date-like, and I felt we were in a long-term courtship.
We are, aren't we?
We are a little
What
bit.
is,
It's
what is
long
this all
distance,
leading
so
to?
Rhett and Link, will you marry us?
Okay. Well, we can turn that into this, possibly, or we can go back. We can go back to the beginning of the Gregory family, because you can talk about Andrew at length because he's not here to defend himself. That's one thing to
Exactly.
keep in mind. But
So we're talking about what? Growing up in Virginia.
Radford, Virginia.
Yeah, good memory. Yeah, Michael and me and Andrew were all actually in real life real brothers.
Were.
were until we started working together. Then we legally severed the brother relationship.
And that's all the siblings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
100.
it's not like the Peyton family and there's like one brother that's like, yeah, I'm not part of this.
Right.
You know, or the Manning family, not the Peyton family, the Manning family.
Yeah, well,
that's his first
he
name.
was part of it.
He was, right, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, 100% of us three brothers are in the YouTube business. Sarah married me, and now it's the four of us. But what the heck are we talking about? Radford, Virginia.
Yeah,
is
we're going back to the beginning.
Were you like a singing ensemble at a young age? Wasn't there something with the parents taking you guys on the road with like playing spoons and something?
Yeah, that spoon
I
playing
can picture
session.
it right now. It's
We
Partridge Family type stuff.
Oh, totally. Our parents are not professional musicians; they're teachers, but they're both very musical. So there was always music around the house. Now we're 3 years apart each, so it's 3 years from me to Andrew, 3 more years to Michael. So
That's family planning.
when you're like 10 and your youngest brother's 4, you're not going to be like singing in the same ensemble for a while. But there was a point at which our parents did start pimping us out as a like family band, and we go sing at like the local Lions Club or stuff like that.
Really?
Right. It's
what-
not like
what-
we were going pro trying to sing, at theater. We were singing for friends at clubs.
But what
in
were
the
you
church
what were
or
you
whatever.
singing?
I remember a performance of In the Jungle and When I'm 84 for a friend's birthday.
Was this along
that
with
classic.
like a cassette tape playing, or was this like no, we brought instruments?
Oh, Dad would be strumming the acoustic guitar for
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
family band. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I remember when we played at that club, this one time we would get our pitch from a tuning fork. And you know how when you hit the tuning fork and it goes boo when you like hold it against your forehead or really close to your ear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't listen to it really close, the first tone you hear is actually just really high pitched and it's a completely different pitch. It's probably like as far away as you can get. Like if the correct pitch is like an A, it's like a D or something.
Right.
Really?
And so I still remember getting
Because
our
what you're
pitch from
supposed
the
to do
wrong-
with it, you're supposed to hold a tuning fork against an instrument like a guitar that resonates, and then you
Right.
can clearly hear a pitch. But if you don't know that, then you're just holding it up in the air and it's playing a completely different note. So we had this disaster at a early family performance where there's like 3 of us children waiting for Dad to give us the note so we can start singing or whatever. And like 3 times in a row, he would go like, bing. The note we need is like, ooh, or something completely different. And he's like, okay, bing. And then we would start the song. Within like 5 seconds is an utter train wreck.
Oh, yeah,
We
it's over.
cut off. And, the only piece of information we needed was hold the fork against the guitar. And that would have fixed everything.
Dad didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or just like
eventu-
have a harmonica.
Yeah, eventually it was like, we're just not getting this.
Or
But it's
just
too
play the
embarrassing.
guitar.
It's too
Just
embarrassing
right
to
there.
start over again. We're actually going to sing through the whole thing
Push
in
through
this
it.
awful key.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we could handle the singing and the guitar playing, but not the tuning fork.
All of you listening who are currently misusing the tuning fork, as I would be doing, because I didn't know about this either.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's not enough room to put instructions on it.
Yeah,
Right?
But now you would
You
have an
etch
app
them.
for that.
Yeah, now we'd have the
Yeah.
iPhone playing the ocarina on
Yeah.
it.
Right. But you still have to put that against your guitar. Right?
Or not.
The app?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So musical from pretty early on, and I mean, was it like, oh, this is kind of an obligation. This is what we're doing, especially with the 3-year difference. You're 6 years older. You're the oldest, right?
Yep.
And you're the youngest. Andrew's the middle. So it's like, I see how my kids interact being 5 years apart. It's like they love being together, but it's just like
Not a lot of peace.
in certain social settings. There's like this embarrassment of each other, or just like, well, this isn't cool. Was that happening?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we always got along to a certain extent, and then you have rivalry over like different things that are going on at home, music or whatever. But I can't say there was a lot of rivalry around music because of age difference. It's like you're at different levels studying the piano or guitar, singing or whatever. And we would just kind of as a stunt play in the family band or do, piano recitals together or whatever. We weren't really collaborating as peers until we got to be more like college age. Okay. And everybody's kind of come into their own musical own, basically. And people are starting to write music or perform themselves. And then we started to collaborate together a little bit more.
So if I'm going to backtrack from like the Auto-Tune the News breakout. When did that were you Michael, were you out of college when that happened?
Yeah, I graduated and was interning and came up with it at the time.
Okay. So if we back up from that, were you guys married?
No. In fact, I guess to back up from Auto-Tune the News, which kind of broke out in 2009, but the premise for the series had been started by Michael the previous fall in 2008. Really, the first time we ever worked together as a quartet was the year before, in 2007, where as a quartet, we went on tour just as a band. And we're performing our own original music. Andrew had come out with his own like folk album, basically, and Sarah had an EP of soul music.
And how did you two meet?
Sarah and I met in Brooklyn. I met her when she was singing backup for another friend, like at a music venue in Brooklyn, just at a bar.
So you moved to New York first.
Yeah.
It was just like right out of school?
Yeah, or within a year, maybe. Yeah.
And what was the first? It was to be a musician.
I mean, in theory, that's the hope. It's like, I would love to try to do music. I want to be.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Like a music degree.
I had a music degree. I also had a degree in computer science, but I was like, we grew up in a small town. Let's try a different environment where I can meet musicians that are really doing it and just try to get in the game a little bit. But I didn't have a job when I moved there and no game plan other than what I just very poorly articulated. So I had a terrible year of just like trying to grab gigs here and there.
What kind of gigs? What do you mean?
I directed a children's choir for a while in Staten Island. That's a terrible idea. I sang
That sounds
lead.
like a movie in and of itself.
I was, 23 or 24 or whatever. I sang lead in a classic rock cover band where every other member of the band was 45.
Oh my goodness.
And we would play dive bars.
How did you get that job? Was that like answering, like pulling off one of those paper tabs in like a restroom somewhere?
Well, that gig, the classic rock gig, came about because I was playing drums in a musical production of Godspell, and the guitar player in the pit orchestra was like, "Hey, you want to come over? My band jams at this bar after practice. Come on over." And I went over, and then they found out I could sing, and it just ended up, being that. And we started doing gigs every weekend.
What was your signature cover? You're as cold as ice.
Oh God,
like one
so
of those?
many, man.
Classic rock.
Yeah, classic rock. All right now, baby, it's all right now.
You sounded 45 right there.
I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. All that stuff. Just screaming it out, just belting a little bit. Beatles, Stones, whatever. I did get one weird gig in those days when I was kind of taking anything I could get from literally what you said, a pull tab on a flyer. Back in like the pre-Craigslist days of like paper flyers on a boarded up store where I pulled the number and I called it and it was just like vocalist needed.
You're like, I'm a vocalist.
So Sarah, you like rescued this guy.
Well,
Just how did it happen?
Because you were doing your own music thing in New York as well. 'Cause where are you from?
Did you pull his paper tab?
a little bit. He was like, I need a vocalist. I grew up in Texas and went to school in Dallas and moved to New York to pursue a career in acting.
Oh.
I did one show. I was cast in one show in New York.
Which
and
was?
I was like, I don't think this is for me. Measure for Measure.
Oh, of course. I know nothing of that.
We were talking theater?
Yeah.
Measure for
Measure for Measure. I was like, this sucks. so I have always done music as well, and so I was getting a lot more work as a musician than a actor, and so I just kind of transitioned into that, and that's sort of where Evans and my world overlapped.
Well, what was the moment? Is there an epic story
A
of
lot of moments.
realizing you were singing in harmony without intending to? What was it?
We met through a bunch of mutual friends, and immediately I was like, oh, I was dating another guy at the time, and I was like, man, bummer, because that guy Evan is like the kind of guy I've always wanted to be with. But oh well, I'm in this other relationship, and that went on for like a year.
Oh wow!
So we were just friends, and
Did you know this guy, Evan?
Yeah.
He's a great guy, wonderful guy,
Great dude.
Not the guy for me. I'm not the girl for him. So anyway, I realized that eventually, and then
Switched to
Evan and I got together, and then I moved away from New York.
Oh really?
Yeah. I was like, I've had it. So I moved back to Texas, and Evan just like made it work.
Long distance, or
Yeah.
you moved to Texas too?
No, the first year of our relationship was long distance. At the time, I had like kind of failed to make the music thing work full time. I was still playing in bands nights and weekends, but I had taken a job doing computer stuff. And basically, I would just scam the game where we would have like I worked in New York, but say there was a meeting in Chicago or something like that. Oh, okay, they're going to fly me to Chicago. What if my return trip just accidentally went to Texas?
Whoops.
Yeah, long layover.
Yeah, like a 10-day layover.
I don't know. There's something weird with there's a storm.
Flight traffic, something or other.
I don't know. How did I end up here? So I basically just worked that ankle super hard for about 9 months and would visit Sarah, once, twice a month or something. And I'd say that pretty much kept our relationship alive.
True. And then right from there, we went on tour with his brothers.
Because
Okay, yeah.
meanwhile, as you guys were sorting out who you were as people, Michael, you were at App State.
Just a little baby.
Like,
Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah,
And-
Boone, North Carolina.
there's things that pop up. Like, I try to start piecing together from like the YouTube channel what's like still up there very early on. Like, like this whole who's this like nerdy dude with like a big fanny pack doing like rapping like Tupac and Twista on a stage. This is at App State. These videos on your YouTube channel.
I thought I hit all those. How did you find them?
Still up.
We
It's
found
still
at
up.
least one.
And there was an American Idol audition thing, or was that real?
Oh yeah,
Did
that wouldn't
did
be on my
happen?
channel, but yeah, that actually happened.
2 out of 3 Gregory Brothers have been on American Idol.
It's true.
And you took the
Well,
like.
who's the second? All right, who was first?
Evan was first.
So you went in for an audition on American Idol,
Yeah. As in
and was it sincere?
oh yeah, totes, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually season 2. So the show had only been on the air for 1 year,
Oh, wow.
and it broke huge that
Yeah,
year.
that
right?
year.
Very good at producing stars at that time.
Yeah, they were one for one with
for
Kelly
one.
Clarkson at that time. Well, 1 for 2 if you count Justin.
Yeah. I was big into that season 2.
Sure.
So, but I didn't know you at the time, I guess. But you were on. They showed your audition as part of the show.
Yeah, I went to Hollywood, did the whole thing.
Oh,
For real?
you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't show that audition though, right? They're just there are more people than they can show, but Evan legit made it.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, in the Hollywood episode, you see me just like flashes here and there, but I didn't go on from Hollywood, so it's like they didn't invest in my storyline or whatever. But
Okay.
you can see me in those episodes. It was
But
the
what was
season
your-
with Clay and Ruben.
What was your audition? Your song, your live audition.
I sang a few because really what they hide on the show somewhat is that there's like 5 rounds to get to Hollywood. What you see is the encounter with Simon and Paula, but you've already been screened through 4 auditions at that point, so that they're getting the people they want on TV in front of the celebrity judges. So, and now I can't even remember all the different things that I sang. There's like at least first you're in like a cattle call with 10,000 people. And you walk up to the front of the line, and some producers, and they're like, "Okay, go!" And you sing for like 20 seconds, and then they literally turn around and give a thumb up or thumb down, gladiator style, to like a security person behind you, and you either get
Fall through the floor.
you're
or-
done, or you get a bracelet, and you get to go back like a day later to the next thing, and then
like a
you're
nice-
singing for like an executive producer or whatever, and you have the like tag that looks like you're in a marathon on your shirt
So
or
what
whatever.
was your song?
So anyway, by the time I made it to the celebrity judges, I was singing "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay,"
Oh yeah. Oh.
Still playing that old man bit.
playing the old man bit, singing
Soulful.
Oh, man, they love the oldies on American
It's
Idol.
a great shtick because Evan looks like he's 13 and he's singing.
Yeah, and they're
Like an old
"Whoa,
black man."
Look at this old
Yeah.
soul.
I'd say the greatest part of it for me was this is in a pre-YouTube, pre-Rickroll era, and Simon Cowell compared me to Rick Astley.
I'm glad it was free, but that's still pretty awesome.
Evan, you got to
It
do your
was
impression.
Oh, well,
Pulls.
yeah. So you finish singing or whatever, and they kind of took turns. Randy was like, yeah, it's pretty good, dog, pretty good. And then Paula Abdul goes, 2 thumbs up. all the way. And Simon Cowell's like, well, you remind me of Rick Astley. You don't have quite as good a voice as he does, but you remind me of him. I think it was basically the I look younger than I sound idea. That was the basis for a comparison.
And the trench coat.
Yeah, and I was wearing a trench coat,
that didn't hurt.
and I did a backflip off the wall.
Evan took a chain link fence into his audition, so that was a big part of it.
Oh, you remind me of someone. Who is it?
But Michael, with yours, I think I've seen it. I don't know if it's. I don't think we've talked about it. I just think I've seen it on YouTube, but I thought it was a joke.
A different angle.
At the time, I had this character that might have been on the channel. The guy wearing the huge fanny pack.
Yeah.
A fanny pack that can pack 2 lunches. Singing Akon, which at the time was a hit. It was I Want to Love You.
I see you winding and grinding up on that floor. I know you see me looking at you. You already know I wanna love you.
Now this would not be a very novel character, but at the time I was like, oh man, I got to bring this troll character to prime time. And somehow it made it on.
But you got nixed right off the bat.
Yeah, actually, this is another secret. I mean, not so secret now, but I didn't actually meet the judges. But on the show, as long as you're in the room, they can cut you against the judges.
Right. You montaged. You made a montage.
So I was talking to the producer, Simon, what's his head? And I montaged with somebody else.
Nigel.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Nigel or another Simon.
But you did appear on the show, even though you didn't meet the judges, and then they edit it so it looks like you're going, I see you wind, and then just cuts to a reaction shot of Randy going, huh?
You gotta love it, man.
They were actually kind of generous with the reactions, because sometimes what they do, and I actually saw it in that same episode with some other poor guy, I don't think this actually happened with the judges, but they just cut to a reaction of a guy saying, you suck, or whatever. It's obvious that they were just feeding that to a camera or something.
Yeah.
And then editing it later.
That was you left. Your callback was during our tour. So I remember we took a few days off from our tour, and you were you had to fly to Atlanta. Is that where your callback was? Or whatever?
Yeah, a very important appointment.
Yeah, no, it was, and I remember going
back,
through
man.
Dwayne Reed with you or whatever, and trying to find the perfect glasses for the audition.
Oh yeah.
So you guys were on tour. So you had graduated by this point. So
you guys were not really. I was still in school, but
you were almost. You were almost there. Let's just say you were. No,
but you guys had basically already established that we're the Gregory Brothers band at that point. So
Yeah, basically.
How did
it grew into it over the
happen?
course of that tour. It started out, it was Andrew's album and Sarah's record, and they're going out as 2 bands, and me and Michael are kind of playing, backing them up, and then by the end of the tour, we were one unit.
We booked over the whole show. The whole tour was 50 dates, 50 gigs, and we had booked we booked the first 15 to 20 or whatever as 2 acts, Andrew Rose Gregory and Sarah Fullen, and then we were just each other's backing bands. And after repeated dates where we would show up to the venue and they'd be like, oh, thank God, I'm so glad you're here, Andrew, but we're still waiting on the other band. I have no idea where they are. They're supposed to open for you. And we're like, oh no, that's us.
Yeah, the other band is us, and we change instruments.
Yeah, exactly. So then eventually we were like, this is too many words. Let's just be the Gregory Brothers.
but there was this YouTube Schmo Yoho thing that was percolating over here on the side. And was that at this point just a Michael thing? I'm just doing this on the side
During the tour, yeah.
Yeah, because you had some locally viral hits.
Like what?
In
what?
Boone.
So you started a
your
YouTube
own.
channel. You called it Schmo Yoho. Nobody knows why. I'm sure.
I still don't know why.
You don't.
I was like, this will be genius. I'll get all the Google search results. No one will ever choose the name Schmo Yoho.
You just made it up.
Yeah.
And because what were you seeing on YouTube that did you have videos that you wanted to put up there, or were you observing something on YouTube that you wanted to be a part of?
A little of both. I mean, lots of the stuff on YouTube at the time that I had seen was just stuff ripped from MTV, because that's before the big Viacom rift where they were pulling stuff down. So I was just oh, look, I can watch an episode of Ali G. Now I'll upload a music video about this local park. Why not? The locally viral video they're referring to is this video called Jimmy Smith Park, which is just about a park in Boone, North Carolina. That is, like, how big would you say?
Well, it has
it
this
is?
huge
It's-
sign
It's a
labeled.
huge sign.
It's no bigger than this room.
Yeah, it's like the size of,
Basically, it's the
like
size of
twice
this
as big
room.
as this room,
Maybe.
which for listeners is not very big.
No, it's a hotel room.
We'll post a picture.
Yeah,
It has
yet
a
it's
huge
labeled.
sign, like way bigger than this Ear Biscuit sign.
If you laid the sign down, it would comprise the whole park.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was this huge, like etched.
How do you make that
stone
locally
sign.
viral?
I don't know.
Like
I guess it's just
every Boone student watched it. I think that's
Yeah.
right.
You wrote a song about
But what
every
was it?
the park.
upstate- Yes.
yeah, it was a musical
yes.
called Jimmy Smith Park.
Yeah, let's-
Oh,
It was an
musical.
How
ode.
wondrous
It was
it
an
was.
ode to the park.
Let's sing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please.
3 rocks, 3 benches, smiling at me, a copper visage. Jimmy Smith Park, Jimmy Smith Park, Jimmy Smith Park.
That was great.
Lots of leaps, like very yodely.
Oh gosh,
Okay,
I
I
want to
get
go
it.
there
I
real
get it.
bad.
I'm clicking mentally right now on that, and I'm
Then-
sharing it.
I just noticed like last year I was getting like a lot of like a little bit of hate from that video, and then I clicked on the video. I was like, what happened about Jimmy Smith Park? And then it was a bunch of commenters that thought I was making fun of a famous organist named like Jimmy Smith. I was like, whoa,
You gotta-
what happened?
Views any way you can get them. Never deny any sort of traction we can get on the internet. But what about space creatures from the future? What
Space people.
yeah.
people?
From the future.
Man, you guys are going deep. This is awesome.
Space people from the future, engineering, global warming, space people from the future, assassinating Abraham Lincoln, space people from the future, messing with my Facebook profile.
No, I remember when we showed up there to meet you. I was like, the auto-tune thing, I was like, this is genius, this is awesome. Showed it to Rhett. I was like, I'm sending an email. I'm going to fanboy a little bit. But then I was like,
But then we
listen-
dug a little deeper.
Listen
and
to the
saw
other
the
songs.
original songs. Yeah.
So you just had these things that you were kind of creating? Was this just you? Were you guys collaborating on any of these songs?
Yeah, not mostly, no, except Space People from the Future, I think Michael was composing while we were on tour. So he'd bounce a few things off of us, but he was recording it, producing it.
And what was the vision at the time? It was just like, okay, I'm going to try to make something go viral on the internet. Like,
I guess the main goal with that one was just to sing about space people from the future.
it was
And
just,
so
hey,
it
you're
was
just
like-
having fun.
Yeah, there was no like real hook, like viral hook, that was like very like trendy or newsy.
Because
but-
because it was before the day where everything is so calculated now, where if you're in a band, you think about the viral thing you can do to draw attention back to the real project, right?
Right.
So it wasn't that mentality. It was more just like, hey, we're trying to do this thing as a band, but I'm gonna have some fun on the internet at the same time.
Yeah, and I was just learning to edit and record, so that was like me experimenting with a bunch of stuff, all the split screen stuff and green
Right.
screening
And waving a keytar around.
and waving a guitar.
Did you actually play the keytar in that, or did you just wave it around?
Probably just waved it around.
Oh, okay.
Because
This is an expose.
what were you doing as a band at the
Ouch.
time? Was there what kind of music were you singing as a band? Was there comedy in that?
I mean, I would say most of the songs had a sense of humor about them, but they weren't comedy songs. It was straight. It was mostly Andrew's music, which is very like folk, set in sort of a soul Motown-y kind of way, and then all the stuff that I was writing was like kind of soul stuff. So, just 4 white kids singing soul.
Right.
How you do. Yeah, so I mean there were a few, like Evan and I wrote a song called Butter on My Roll that was basically just like a goofy love song, and so there was cleverness to it, but it definitely was not intended to be like a comedic
comedy music, yeah.
But
viral
then-
thing or whatever.
But then auto-tune. So give us the background on that. Like, the skills that lined up in order to, like, physically make that happen. Because there's like Akon has got the signature auto-tune sound pre-T-Pain, I think, right? About the same time?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like power to the people. You could get an auto-tune plug-in. But what were what were you doing when you started playing around with this stuff?
So at the time, I was interning at the studio in Hell's Kitchen in New York. And, I mean, we use the technology on everybody, whether you want it detectable or not, whether they're a great singer or not, just because it was, like, part of the style. You know, at the time, I guess, 2009, it wasn't only, like, to be undetectable. Sometimes people just wanted the effect. Because all the T-Pain songs were really popular. Akon was really popular. Now you'll hear that some, but it's mostly, like, a little bit more hidden. And, I mean, pretty much everybody has used it in pop since, like, the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
But people didn't really know about it until, like, 2009 when it, like, Cher, and then especially in, like, 2009-ish when it got really popular.
Well, it's weird that now in hip-hop, they use it to actually make them sound worse, if you ask me. I mean, it sounds cool, but it's like...
like that
Like Kanye
song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. He totally messes with it. I mean, it's a complete, stylistic choice.
Like the one about I'm blowing up the club on a Tuesday. Like that, you know that song?
I don't know that one.
Well, that one's horrible. I love it.
It's so bad.
It's
good.
It's like auto detune.
Lil Wayne has used it like that a lot, and it's kind of cool how sometimes it sounds almost like atonal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you were. This was part of what was happening, and you were in the studio.
So in the studio doing that a lot, and I think at the time I was doing some more topical YouTube videos, or one in particular that was around the 2008 debates, and it was a musical.
Why?
And really for no reason except I always thought that news and politics were funny. Just the kind of like the messaging like around the election season is always like so basic, even though it always felt like we should be voting on like really like high level platform stuff, but instead you're just talking about like the most basic, like can you believe that guy didn't like wear a flag tie?
Right.
You know, like that's like that's the things you're talking about, even though you should be talking about like, oh, like what are their tax policies or whatever.
Yeah.
That I always just thought that was funny, so I did a musical that was like in the debate, but it didn't have any of that kind of auto tuning in it, and it did really well, surprisingly.
So what was it? It was footage that was just kind of like rhythmically.
So it was footage of the debate. I took Obama out and put myself in, and so it was me, McCain, and the moderator, and just sang a musical. And it did surprisingly well. And I was like, oh, let's follow it up. But it'll be boring if it's every week, every debate, it's just me like singing at people.
Right.
You got to sing with people. I was like, this technology I'm using at the studio is so powerful. I mean, if it can make non-singers sing, it can make especially non-singers sing, people that are speaking, you know?
Yeah.
And that had not been done. You had not seen that anywhere.
It probably had been toyed with around the same time, but I don't remember.
But it was more just kind of recognizing that like this technology can accomplish a lot. Like
That was the question.
It can
right?
correct people so thoroughly that it could correct a speaker into.
I was already making non-singers sing.
Right,
like,
you were doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So how easy was it once you got into it?
It was pretty tough. I mean, you can hear, like, if you watch that first video, that would have been at like the end of 2008, in our videos now that were way better.
Oh, yeah.
But we super lucked out because the first time I tried it was Sarah Palin and Joe Biden, and they're actually both like pretty good accidental singers.
I love that term. I love it because I've heard you guys say that before. The accidental singer,
accidental singer, and accidental writer. I guess.
What qualifies a good accidental singer?
I think the sentence you just spoke was good accidental singing, because it like held a pitch. It was supported by the breath. My voice is like mediocre right now. I feel like if you're like a low male speaker has a disadvantage, because women and high male speakers are
and me.
yeah.
Female and high male voices have an advantage.
Honestly, a good rule of thumb is, are you using your voice like a singer would? And someone can be talking, but they could be talking like this, and they're projecting and using their full instrument. So sonically, a lot is happening that is already similar to singing. And so then it's just like a shorter trip to make to match that person to a singing melody.
Is it true that everything you say is technically a note? Like what I'm saying now, is it a note?
If your vocal cords are vibrating, they're
It's
making
a note, right?
Or multiple notes.
But if you're doing a gravelly voice like this, I mean, I'm not
It's
making
dirty.
notes
It's
right
dirty.
now.
that's terrible accidental singing right there.
Right. Yeah. You're not gonna do anything with that.
And
This is huge. I mean, you can't. Maybe other
Guys, this is gonna be big.
you should really invest in that.
You realize this?
But that's my point. At the time, I mean, you're reluctant to say I invented this, but if other people invented it at the same time in parallel, yes. But I mean, you didn't see someone else do it and you emulated it. You invented it, and that's pretty freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we continue to trace everything that happened, it reshaped the internet.
Oh, I'm
And it was-
blushing. If SoundCloud is turning red right now, it's me blushing.
But what did you have a sense of any of that? It's like I had this. Well, you
Well,
kind
what
of
was the-
stumbled
what
into
was
it,
the
but then when
first
it
sign?
worked, when it worked,
The first sign
it's
that,
like, oh, they're good at it.
This is gonna work.
Well, Michael kept doing it, so you knew that.
But when's the first time you heard it?
enough.
When
Well,
you heard
that-
it, was it VP debate in song and dance? It was out. You guys were doing something else, and then it was like Michael's like, I got this thing. It's on my channel.
Well, you were already. I was just working a day job, but you were already helping.
During that whole time period, we've been playing together a lot as a band. We're spending tons of time together. We knew everybody's business and everybody's projects and stuff like that. And when Michael made the video for the first debate, we were loving. We were like, this is so hilarious. We'd love to help out and let's all pitch in. So we worked overnight together on the VP debate and song and dance, and Michael's working on the tuning and we're working on the video montage or whatever, and that helped in the sense that the debate airs at 8 p.m. or something, and collectively we're working on it overnight and it came out the next morning or something like that. So we were kind of on board following Michael's lead from that point on, and then trying to pick up different elements of the craft. We're kind of self-taught on the video side. Mm-hmm. So it was during that period that it felt like we got an inkling of
Something.
oh, people think this is interesting and funny, because they would get views in the realm of a few thousand views or something,
Right.
which is light years beyond whatever we would do with live recordings of our band or whatever.
Because that was part of the craft, right? Part of the craft was, and continues to be, but especially in the early days, was the quick turnaround. So you have to tell us the process. You watch the footage, you decide on some theme that you're going to kind of key in on and make the chorus out of or whatever. Does this rhyme in a certain place? And then you got to come up with a melody. What goes into that?
Yeah, it's really tough because there's so many factors. Is this a good accidental singer? But then if everything they say is super boring, then we might not include it. Or if somebody doesn't have a great voice, but everything they're saying is super interesting or entirely crazy, we're like, oh, we have to include this. So if you hit the jackpot and it's somebody that's giving a very interesting speech and they're the Beyonce of accidental singing, then
Like
it's definitely
Katie
going in.
Couric?
Like Katie Couric. She was the greatest.
Right.
And that was I
She's
feel
here, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard.
She is walking
I
over
haven't
there.
seen her, but I've heard that she's here.
Yep,
with
she's wonderful.
a child of hers or something.
Figures.
Who's actually into this type of internet stuff.
I believe it.
That's clicking with me now
why
why
she's
here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and she
Yeah,
was
she's
like,
great.
I feel like with that video, the first video we did with her, it felt like one of the first times that we were crafting the song as well as
Yes.
just making quick
And
one-liners.
that was Auto-Tune the News #2. And that was, we obviously were enjoying the debate videos enough to keep doing them, and enough for Michael to figure out how to sort of make this a recurring thing. So you coined Auto-Tune the News. And then with #2, that was our first video to hit 1 million. And we were like, whoa.
Pirates, drugs, gay marriage.
This is a thing.
Yep, and that had a lot to do with Michael finding that melodic hook in Katie Couric's voice. It wasn't just snippets of notes here and there. It's it turned into a hook, and when that really landed, people just started sharing it virally. That video broke out really big.
With temperatures rising even faster, if we all don't take bold action and take it soon, we will find ourselves on very thin ice.
Very thin ice,
Very thin ice. Very thin ice.
tell them hurry, pirates on.
And so, okay, so these videos begin to get traction, and then when does the perspective shift from, okay, Michael's got this thing going over here that now we're kind of contributing to know this is what we're going to pursue. This is going to be the thing that we're all doing.
It was that video, right? Like I think you started pretty much working full time on your videos at that point.
Yeah, after that video.
We all recognize that like we should be like all trying to put energy into this and stuff like that. But the creator program didn't exist in its current form then, so there was no mechanism to be like, oh, clearly we're going to make a living off this. That's still a question mark. But it was just like people are responding to this, whether or not there's any money there. Let's try to make more fun stuff.
And there was pretty like traditional media feedback from it too. Like we went on the Rachel Maddow show and and whatever. So there was.
You've probably started getting some of the like auto-tune for hire type stuff at that point, right?
People hitting us up for their bar mitzvahs.
Right, and
So
exactly.
There was definitely a sense of like it's not like I'm going to be a YouTube partner. That was all new. I think that was new at the time, but I'm definitely going to suddenly be writing for jingles.
But
that was like my dream job. Oh, Dag, I can write jingles now.
Yeah,
cashing in.
And there was a big piece of this was that Michael was working with Barely Political at the time.
Oh, you were working. Did you have a job there?
No, I worked with them like freelance on a couple videos.
But Auto-Tune the News wasn't under their banner.
Well, actually, they were really generous, and it's really like the reason. A big reason that went viral is we double posted it. It actually, I posted it on Shmo Yoho, and at the same time, I was about to do a collaboration with them, and I sent it to them and said, hey, why don't we do something like this format? It's kind of funny to be like a mashup instead of trying to be like super structured. And they said, this is great. Can we just post it on our channel and we'll link to you? And so they did. So it actually went viral when they posted it, but they linked back to our channel very generously.
But then you kept putting Auto-Tune the News on both channels for a while.
Yeah, we kept double posting for probably about 8 more episodes.
Okay. And then at a certain point, you've got to branch out. Like I can see in revisiting, 5 years ago. Well, the first Auto-Tune the News #1 was 6 years ago. And then 5 years ago, the first Songify This, Auto-Tune Cute Kids and Kanye pops up.
Snap.
Very simple title.
We did,
blew up more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Auto-Tune really blew up, but it was on the Barely Political channels where it really like went through the stratosphere, I think, looking at the views.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of, it seemed like you had to figure out a way to iterate on the concept.
Well, we did
it's
like
not
a
flash
year.
in the pan, right?
We did a year of Auto-Tune the News exclusively. And then after that year, we were like, this is a lot of work for one video.
Well, I think the Kanye video came out that same year.
Oh, okay.
Because, that was like the 2009 VMAs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of that year, yeah.
I guess, and then that next summer was when, was it the Double Rainbow?
song,
or was
yeah.
it the
5 years ago this
Strut
month.
That Ass? Which one was Strut That Ass was after Double Rainbow.
Yeah, I think Double Rainbow was
so
first.
Double Rainbow was first.
So Double Rainbow was the first, like, let's take this
one
particular
subject
thing that happened.
Yeah.
And
this one
Obama
thing.
Sings Kick-Ass Song was before Double Rainbow.
What?
Oh, bam.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a huge one for us.
It was 2 videos before it. And then you did Auto-Tune the News #12, and then you did Double Rainbow Song.
So Double Rainbow was the first time that we were like, oh, we could do this not with
Political.
news.
Yeah.
The Obama video was big, and it worked really well because it was a single subject type of thing, and it's also really funny because
he's a pretty good accidental singer.
and he's talking about how he wants to kick somebody's ass, so that's already hilarious. So people really liked that one, but the Double Rainbow video was the first time that we were like, you know what, we could just look at a viral video as a subject for a
something
song.
that's awesome on its own,
on its own on
and
the
then you
internet.
made it awesome squared.
Right. But at the time, like, we had gotten somewhat big through Auto-Tune the News, but we still felt like, oh, we're just another guy out here doing stuff in the Wild West of YouTube. The Double Rainbow song, like, took off so big. That was the first time that we got this picture, like, oh, we're starting to be one of the larger fish in this pond of, YouTubers or whatever. We can't just be going out there and remixing or whatever and then walking away. So that's when we started like trying to build relationships with people, and we reached out to Bear, the Double Rainbow guy.
Right, because that was the first time that you were like doing something non-political. So okay, news footage is one thing, but you're like, this is a person who made a video.
Correct.
Right.
So you made that call.
Yeah.
How did that go, and what did you say?
Well, it's like the video came out, and then it's like the reaction to it was so immediate. And,
But you mean when you called the Double Rainbow guy?
Yeah.
right, but it was after the video came out. We were like, oh, we're just making this video. Michael had it out within, I don't know, a couple days of when it had gone. The original had gone viral via a Jimmy Kimmel tweet. Mm-hmm. And it's like the reaction to it by the audience was so immediate. You could see the size of the reaction, and people were like, I want to have this on my iPod. I want to listen to this while I wash my dishes.
I want to use this voice when they're speaking about what I want.
Somebody just punched me in the throat. Oh.
But I thought you were about to say that you called Bear before you auto-tuned it, or like what was the sequence of events?
Well, that's what we do now. But because this was the first time, it's like we didn't have that in mind, and because of the reaction, we were like, "Oh, we got to get a hold of this guy. We got to talk. We got to talk this out. Yeah, we got to talk this through." And so then it was
at VidCon actually, because we put out the video right before the first VidCon, and I think I remember we were at VidCon being like, "We've got to get a hold of Bear. Like, we need to talk with him and like make sure that this is cool," and we got a hold of him through like the YouTube messaging system at the time, right?
And he's like the nicest guy in the world.
And he's like the nicest guy in the world. And I think
5
as
years
soon
later,
as he realized,
he's here at this VidCon, just walking
being
around.
amazing. Yeah, exactly.
So after we talked with him is when we put the song up for sale on iTunes and just went 50-50 with him on proceeds of the song.
That's at 36 million views now, 5 years later. 1, 2, 3, 4 videos later was the Bed Intruder song.
Oh yeah.
Which, guys, I mean, I remember Double Rainbow came out here, and then you guys did the show, and like it was amazing.
Amazing.
The chills, they like singing the song. It was like awesome. But then you followed it up basically with this Bed Intruder, which is now at 128 million.
Okay, so
views.
tell us about that, because that's Antoine, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he's a different character than Bear.
Yeah.
And you would also kind of change your policy for when you make contact, right? So tell us how that went.
At the time, we were still just doing videos, so we just did the video. That was probably within 2 days.
But again, I guess we felt like if we were going, I mean, when we realized the reception was so huge and people really wanted to buy this song and own it, we were like, it's not. We gotta connect with the
and
the person.
You're doing a favor, and really.
So
for him,
so we it was really hard to get into. Well, it was pretty hard to get in touch
he was
with
probably
both of
getting
them.
hit up on like all sides like
Yeah.
crazy. So we put out the bat signal like after we put out the video, and we were like, oh, this video is getting a lot of attention. We really need to contact Antoine, see if this is cool, and if he wants to, just do the same thing we did for Double Rainbow, because we hadn't done that again at the time. So we put out the bat signal, which was just a huge annotation, classic annotation, at the beginning of our video. It just said, Antoine, email us at antoine1hit@gmail.com.
You're kidding me.
That was it, and it worked
and
within
How
a
many
day.
other emails did you get?
It was like a cousin,
bunch.
a bunch. But like finally, we were like, wait, I think this might be the real deal. It was
How
like
could you tell?
it was a cousin of his, right?
Yeah, there were a few dubious emails, of course.
Yeah. And I think this
As
one
we
was like,
explained.
I am
That is
Antoine's
amazing.
cousin. Like, why don't you tell me what you want to talk to him about or whatever, and I'll see if I can put you in touch. And so we got in touch.
And then how did that conversation go?
Well, I mean, it went pretty well, as I recall. He was like, yeah, let's split it. And I think even by that, I'm not sure if it was by that point or soon after, but he was like, oh yeah, that song's my ringtone. I love you guys.
I'm trying to figure out, you guys had to start to deal with your own success, right? I mean, you had to figure out, well, we've got to iterate on this thing, and we've also got to branch out. This is not the breadth of who we are as artists. We're also a band. We also have, how did you start to deal with that? What were those conversations like?
I mean,
We're still having
we're
them.
still having those conversations every
Yeah.
day about like what do we want to pursue, because we have our main thing, which is creating songifications that like our audience love. They want to see that, but we still have all these other side projects. We play in other bands, and we have a second channel where like our more in-depth super fans want to go see us do whatever. But striking that balance of how much energy you put into one project versus another is like a constant balancing act.
And you guys were working on a TV project for a while too, right? There was a show that you were developing.
Right. So I mean, having success on YouTube, as you know, turns into tons of asks from around YouTube, but also traditional media. And so
you guys are auto-tuning the Oscars.
Yeah, we did.
That was huge.
We produced a segment for the Oscars one year, which was just in our own idiom, taking clips of movies and put them into a montage as if those movies had been musicals. It was really well received. It was in an otherwise somewhat dark year for the Oscars when James Franco and Anne Hathaway hosted and was not well received. And so I think our segment was seen as sort of a bright spot. But
I remember seeing that, and I didn't know you guys were doing it ahead of time. It's not like we talked every week.
Right, you never called.
You
After that Bruno incident.
It was awkward. You didn't know how to.
It was so exhilarating to see that, and it was like, either someone has totally ripped you guys off perfectly, or you actually just did a segment on the Oscars.
We got a lot of. We weren't allowed to really tell anyone about it, and the way the Oscars work is that they have dozens and dozens of segments produced ready to go. And then, inevitably the speeches run long and they have to cut so many or whatever.
You didn't even know if it was going to
so
air
we didn't
until
know
you watched the Oscars?
Yeah, that's right. I think we found out literally right when the Oscars went to air or something that we had a good chance, but we didn't tell anyone. So then our phones started blowing up and being like, the Oscars ripped you off.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, as you can imagine, there is so much protocol around making a piece for the Oscars. You're going through so many layers. And I've almost forgotten about this because it's been 3-4 years now. But originally, the idea was we're producing a musical number that the hosts are going to sing. And they're going to sing a duet with auto-tune clips of the movies are going to play over their heads, and they're going to sing, and the movie will respond, and it's like as if it's a live musical thing that's happening. It was so complex. And so we wrote that whole segment. That's a thing that existed that will never be seen. But it was so complicated that, how are we going to teach this to James Franco and Anne Hathaway? So we shot a whole video of ourselves wearing a sign that says, James and Anne, where we're singing the parts, instructionally, so that they could learn it and then perform it live on stage. And then it was this is too hard.
They're they can't do this. Guys,
really
they're having
convoluted.
trouble enough hosting. We're not gonna throw this at them.
It was a pretty complicated segment, and I remember on one demo I played the part of Scorsese giving them a standing O. Just put that in the bit.
So obviously it ended up being just a standalone thing.
Right.
You guys obviously continue to do more of the songification of things, and you branch out into other areas. But given the nature of the internet, I mean, there's probably not going to be another bed intruder moment, right? There's not going to be another, because it's not going to have the same freshness that auto-tuning something had 3 or 4 years ago, right?
But the Shia LaBeouf thing comes out, it's the green screen thing, and I see that, and I'm like, all right, the Gregory Brothers have to songify this, which you did, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Well,
what's your interaction
and then with
that? When you see that, it's like, do your
I
eyes
think
roll, or you're like, yes, at this point?
That was sort of handed to us on a silver platter.
Just do it. Nothing is impossible. Just do it. Yesterday you said tomorrow. Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. And more often you do it, more like there will be.
But I guess what I'm kind of getting at is there's this, because the way YouTube works has changed so significantly that there's this initial wave in which right place, right time. This is going to go through the stratosphere, and then there's more this is what we do, this is what we're known for, this is how we provide for ourselves, and we're good at it, and we're going to continue to do it. But it's not just because it's physically impossible at this point, given the nature of the internet, for something to be that novel,
right? In
the way that it
and
was.
In 2010, I mean, you're exactly right. In 2010, the novelty factor of that was just peak because nobody had seen it before,
right? And
so there was a song crafting, but then mostly it was just what is this? It's totally new. And I mean, it's almost I feel like there was some time in a caveman civilization when some dude started singing and everybody's oh man, what the hell, what is he doing, brain explosion, I can't believe this, right. And then 10 years later he's still singing, and they're hey, why are you still singing? You know what I mean? At some point, singing,
because now everybody's singing,
now it's a thing. Now everybody's still singing. Now it's still a thing. I feel like it's just like another, art form that is going to exist, and that will always have like hits and non-hits. You know what I mean?
Does it change the anticipation that goes into the process? Because there was probably a moment in which, when you were working on the Bed Intruder song after having done Double Rainbow, you were like, oh man, this is gonna explode. And now, just given the nature of YouTube, it might be a little bit more like, this is gonna be really good, but like, let's not get our hopes up because YouTube's different now. Does that go into it?
Yeah, the environment's definitely different. So you have different expectations, but even at the time, there was no precedent for either the Double Rainbow song or the Bed Intruder song. So with either of those, like, yeah, we definitely had hopes. Like, I hope people like this, but never in a million years would we have said, like, well, this is 100 million views for sure.
Right, yeah, you still never know.
Right. Now, because the novelty isn't there, we would, never expect a mega hit like that. But some things do break out, and some things are really shareable. But we don't rely on that for our day-to-day. It's like, let's just stay in the game and be consistent, and we can make episodes of Songify the News that are more like about the comedy of us like commenting on stuff. And then if we want to try something viral, let's do that as well. But our audience is still there, and they still like it. So we made a lot of episodes this year.
Right. And the nature of virality is shifting too. I mean, it's always very nebulous. We're all inventing it as we go along. And I'd say like some of the biggest things we did this year are like the Kimmy Schmidt song. And on YouTube, it's doing well, but I'd say it probably has been seen the most on Netflix. And then we did this one video for Hit Record on TV that got 10 million views on Facebook, and on YouTube it's got like a good amount of views, but it's not like completely blown up. So now it's like you never know where people, like, which community is going to find that.
So what's the plan moving forward, and this, like, the strategy, and where does Songify fit into that? Well, you guys sit down like Gregory Brothers meeting. Here's a whiteboard. We're mad at each other, and we're fighting, and we're throwing felt markers, and
we lock ourselves in the room,
deciding on stuff.
We schedule being mad at. We always schedule getting angry at each other for Thursdays. That's Angry Day.
Angry Day.
Is there family meetings? Let's take an emotional.
Yeah.
There's a work meeting.
Like, not work meeting. I'm talking like, hey, there's some emotional tension here.
Oh no, that's
two of us are married.
Way too healthy.
There's
we
two.
don't do that.
Are there explosions? Are there emotional explosions?
No, there's just like internal angst, and then one of us disappears for a couple weeks, and then we resurface.
But I have to think that
deals with it personally.
Oh yeah.
But Sarah being there, that's got to be a good dynamic. I think that you being there, I think it probably helps with any potential friction between three brothers, right? I mean, that's gotta. Don't you think that's gotta?
Did you guys like really have knocked down, drag out fights before I came along, and you're just on your best behavior still after 6 years?
I mean, it's primarily passive aggressive, I would say. Yeah. The way we like, build up some tension about like, man, Andrew said that he was gonna have this video edited today. He's over there reading Reddit, and he didn't do his dishes.
There's a salsa bowl in the sink, unwashed.
Right. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we have plenty of business meetings where we're talking about, okay, we got these 10 videos we want to make. Which ones are we working on this week? Whatever. And we'll go through those with weeks of regularity without ever talking about feelings.
We did institute an annual meeting.
I recommend this for everybody.
This sort of like, it's definitely business, focused, where we do like the big picture sort of like goal setting and dreaming and stuff, and reviewing of the previous year. And just this year, so we hash out a lot there. Like, I've really been pissed over this last year about this thing that you do.
Wow.
But this past year was the first time I made us take personality tests specific to how you interact with other people. And so we did a little bit of that, and it's stuff we already know, but it's...
What else did you determine besides you're the only one who likes personality tests?
Yeah, well, pretty much that. We kind of locked in on the fact that like Michael and I are actually the introverts in the group, Andrew and Evan are the extroverts. That Andrew's an initiator. He's like our team coach. Like he can like help us encourage. He can encourage something to the finish line. Michael likes to work alone, which is tough that you have to work with 3 people. I don't know. What else did we learn?
That's it.
That's pretty much it. Thanks, guys. I'm glad it really stayed with you.
It's very fruitful. Very fruitful.
So I don't know. We try to go there and kind of hash it out every once in a while. But I have to say, I feel like we're all pretty lucky. We work pretty well together.
And this is a question that we ask to any groups that work together, and it's usually a duo that we ask this question to. But is this is a forever thing? We're going to work together in some capacity forever, or it's just like this is great, but we've got our own things that we want to branch out and try. I know you guys already do a lot of things, sort of, different projects, but is there just this sense that there's a natural end to it, or is it just like, no, this is something that we're always going to maintain?
I'm really curious to hear your answers, but I'll just answer first because that's what I do. I think none of us like to say no to anything ever. So I think that there's just this sense that we'll just keep doing it and do other things. There's like a connection to a community that keeps us really tied to what we're doing, and then obviously like pride in what we've built together and being connected to one another. And it's like you've put in all of this time to like learn how to work together, and it would be such a shame to throw it out the window. But I don't foresee a time that any of us would ever be like, I'm out, except that I just had a baby and I'm like, I like hanging out with the baby more than you guys.
Yeah.
So there's that, but I'm still in the office.
We would have to get brother divorced if we're going to stop working together.
Yeah, that's an official. I know a lawyer who can do that, who specializes in sibling divorce.
Whoa. I don't know. What do you guys? I'm really curious to hear your answers.
I mean, honestly, I think it's somewhere in between. I think we will work together indefinitely as long as it keeps working. But 6 years ago, we never would have said, this YouTube thing is definitely going to be a career, and we're still at a point where it's like, how long is this going to keep happening until the environment totally changes and the money doesn't work, or we get an offer to go somewhere else. Like maybe we move from this to another medium or another platform or whatever. It's so different now than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago that we can't possibly predict what the career is going to be like. But right now we still really enjoy making videos together, and so we're definitely going to proceed with that while we also try to make TV over here, make music over here, and just dip our toes into all the different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep dipping and keep us in the mix relationally. We want to add other
keep us in the mix relationally.
Other data points to our
we
to our dating
a lot of different ways.
That was my first line to Sarah. Did you know that? Keep me in the mix relationally.
Just got one request: when you go back to Texas, if you'll just keep me in the mix relationally.
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thanks for having
Oh
us.
man, come over for nachos anytime.
You missed it, Andrew.
We'll watch Boogie Nights together. It'll be great.
Nice.
There it was, our conversation with our friends, the Gregory Brothers. Let them know what you thought. Hashtag earbiscuits. Tweet at them. Their handle is Gregory Brothers, not the Gregory Brothers, just Gregory Brothers, because that's a lot of letters, and Twitter only lets you go so far, and that's enough. I mean, why do they need the?
Well,
they don't.
I mean, you may not be able to fit the. Isn't there a limit on how long your Twitter handle can be?
That's exactly what I was just saying.
Oh.
You weren't listening to me?
I just thought that you said it was too many. I didn't know it was too many just
because
like philosophically or like, is there a philosophical limit to how long a Twitter handle should be, or is there a technical limit?
Both. And
and do they converge? Are they the same?
Yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
And do you know what the answer is? Because you don't seem to.
Gregory, if you count the letters in Gregory Brothers, I'm betting that's it.
And you add at most 3, you're going to get there.
And if it was one less, then it would have been Gregory Brothers with a Brothas to get rid of the R.
Yeah, that would be confusing. Now, I like the fact that this came full circle. You know, when we went up to visit them in 2009, we recorded them. We recorded an interview with them.
On your iPhone.
Yes.
The voice memo.
And
thing,
now we have,
talked about.
I think, significantly upgraded the recording quality in our approach to everything.
I think, you know, that itch that we scratched because you had the voice memo, say, oh, you know, I would like to just do an audio interview. Yeah,
And are those still available somewhere?
Become full circle. I think if you go to
the Rhett Link community, right? They were on the Rhett Link community at some point.
It was on when we had a blog on our website.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did it that way. So if you
I don't know. You can try to dig those up. But do you remember you know who we also talked to that visit? You remember Allison Fishman,
the voice for
Swedish Meatballs or whatever she did who we ended up connecting with her on our old Rhett Link cast live, and she taught us how to make guacamole over the phone, in which we fed to a hawk, which you weren't supposed to do because it could kill it. Anyway, it didn't die. The hawk's okay. But when we went to New York to talk to the Gregory Brothers, we also sat down and had a meal with her and recorded that. But
now we find a way that didn't make sense. You know, for us just to post a picture and an audio interview on our website, we are now doing that.
I think we can credit the Gregory Brothers to some degree for us doing Ear Biscuits. Let's do that. We have the right to do that.
Okay, so they were on the first ever primordial version of Ear Biscuits, which was just your iPhone.
Yeah,
and
6 years ago.
And they were the first in-studio guests on Good Mythical Morning. That is a fact.
They sat on that weird futon that I had in the garage where we had our set.
There's not enough room for all, and Andrew wasn't there then either, I don't think.
Andrew has a way of slipping away.
Or, you know what,
No, he was there.
I think he was there, but Sarah wasn't
there. Sarah wasn't there. I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but it was awesome.
You know, they're all Gregorys. Well, 3 of them, and then 1 of them married into it.
But you know, I mean, we're just trying things. Let's just say we're ahead of our time. Yeah? Or that we tried it and it didn't work and now it's finally working. Well, let's just say it that way. It'll sound more self-deprecating. Okay. We also, if we would have known auto-tune and we would have gone a lot further with some other things we tried, like we took people's words verbatim and turned them into song, and we did that for Alexis Cohen, the American Idol song.
And you're saying that if we had auto-tuned it, that we would have been the Gregory Brothers?
We could have been the Gregory Brothers.
Oh, man.
And I'm so glad that we didn't know auto-tune because they're so awesome at it.
Because then they wouldn't exist. No, that's pretty presumptuous.
No, because
that's pretty presumptuous.
Okay, so let me go on record in saying that I'm glad that we didn't do it because it would have sucked.
Okay,
that's a better way to say it. And then we would have looked stupid when they did it and they were awesome.
So thanks to the Gregory Brothers for doing things the right way and in a way that we wouldn't have done, and giving us all, millions of us, entertainment. And in not just the past, the present, but also the future. We're excited about what you guys are doing, and thanks for coming on the Ear Biscuit.
Well, you're talking to them right now.
Yeah, I usually don't do that, but you know what? They're going to listen to this, right?
And thank you. No, they won't. I mean, I wouldn't listen to myself for over an hour.
The chances of them listening to it go up really high because there's 4 of them. So at least one of them will, and then one of them will tell all the rest of them about it.
And they'll probably divide it up. Like, I'll take the first 25%.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, they probably do.
So one of them's listening to the end of this.
Right. So, and I like to think that it's Michael. I don't know why, because he seems like he's the youngest. They make him do everything last.
Oh, they make him do everything last. Thank you guys for listening and for staying to the bitter end here with us. The music's playing us away.
And it is a bitter end. It is very bitter.
But we'll be back at you next week, speaking into your ear holes and
canals. Can we say canals?
Ear canals.
Ear canals.
We'll be rowing up your ear canals this time again next week.
In a romantic canoe.
And the time is really whenever you so choose.
Yeah, you choose it. You make it happen.
It'll be 6 more years from now. What president's being auto-tuned right now? Who knows?